All right, guys. So this is an example of, kind of trying to help you guys figure out a little bit about what this should somewhat look like for this first assignment and going forward. And so I'm going to post this document as an example, and you can kind of look through it. And yours won't be quite as in depth as this, but um, this is going to kind of show you a little bit about problem statements, backgrounds of studies, theoretical framework, stuff like that. So, background on what this document is. This is on a study that looked at um, what adding small college football programs did to the diversity of enrollment on campuses that added them. And so, the first part is kind of a background of the study. And so I'll let you read through this, but I'm going to kind of hit the high points. What I'm really talking about in here is very little to do with small college football. I'm looking more and talking more about the popularity of football, how important sport is in America, how important college football is, how important NFL football is. And then I'm getting into research about new schools adding football and how football programs are at a all-time high. Describing the difference between NCAA and NAIA. I'm just kind of, giving a brief overview of what's out there about just football in general. And then I get down to right here. And I talk about that there's insufficient research that exists about the impact of adding college football on a small college campus. Okay, and I go into a little bit about why enrollment is so key, and why that institutions are deciding to add football programs. Okay, so I'm just kind of setting the stage, so to speak, for the fact that there's. All right, next I go into my problem statement, my significance of the study. And so what this is where I'm setting the stage for what I want to study. So I go in and I talk about some of the literature I was able to find about new colleges adding athletic programs, how it generates revenue. I go and talk about enrollment of minority students, males, females, a little bit. And I'm basically kind of hitting the high points of the literature. And as you scroll down, I get to the deal where it says the proposed research will in part explore and examine if the addition of a small private college football program increases the diversity of enrollment on campuses and provides opportunities for underrepresented minority students to earn a college degree. That's essentially what I'm studying. I go a little bit more into here and start to talk a little bit more about the decision making, how hard it is to do that, the decision to add it. And then I kind of restate the same thing again, that intends to explore and examine adding new football programs at private institutions. And the last part of this, guys, looks at the significance of the study, and talks about that it'll make a unique contribution because there's not a whole lot of research out there. Then I get into theoretical foundations. And so, I'll tell you how I found this. And this is the way I would recommend it to do for you. As you start to do your, once you pick your problem that you want to study, and you start to do your annotated bibliography, you want to look and see what those authors use as their theoretical foundation or their framework, and likely one of them is going to come to you. For me, what happened was this article by Dalton and Somers was looking at small college enrollment, and they used resource dependency theory, and so once I understood it, I thought it fit, and so I started to do the research on resource dependency theory, which is also part of your review of lit. And so this section just basically goes through explaining how resource dependency theory supports my problem I'm studying. And again, I'll post this so you guys can read it. Then it gets to the purpose of the study, and it's a very simple statement. The purpose of this quantitative study is to explore and examine if the addition of a small college football program results in an increase in the diversity of student enrollment at small private institutions. And then I go through and I list my independent variables, which were the presence or absence of football programs, and I talk about that. And then the year that football programs started. Then I talk about my dependent variables, the percentage of non-Caucasian student enrollment, percentage of male enrollment, percentage of enrollment of students receiving Pell Grant, percentage of out-of-state enrollment. And I go through and I come up with my research questions. And I have a central question, which is there a statistically significant relationship between the addition of a new football program and the diversity of student enrollment on small college campuses? So the first research question is, to what extent does the addition of a football program result in increased enrollment of non-Caucasian students at small private institutions compared to institutions not initiating a program? And then you see these two, this H1 and H0. These are the research hypothesis and null hypothesis. Now, you would not have these if you were doing a qualitative research. You would only have them in quantitative research. And it's just, they're the opposite of each other. So H1 says adding a new football program does produce an increase in the enrollment of non-Caucasian students compared to institutions not initiated program. H0 just says the opposite. Adding a new football program does not produce an increase. Okay, so I go that for my research questions. I have a research and a null hypothesis for each one of those. And again, this would not be the same if you were doing a qualitative research. So I'll post this so you have a guide to kind of look at, and I'll show you some other resources that can help you guys in addition to us being able to talk with each other.